Have you ever noticed how your mind can be completely full, even when nothing is happening? You sit down for a moment. Maybe the room is quiet. Maybe you're trying to relax. But your mind immediately starts running. A conversation from earlier suddenly replays. Something you said. Something you wish you said differently. Then another thought appears. Something you need to do tomorrow. Something that might go wrong. Something someone might think about you. And before you realize it, your mind is holding 10 different conversations at once. None of them are happening, but all of them feel urgent. This is what most people call overthinking. And most people assume the problem is that their mind just won't stop. But what if the real reason your mind won't stop is because you believe that voice is you? What if overthinking continues simply because you never realized there's a difference between the voice and the one hearing it? In the next few minutes, you'll understand exactly why your mind keeps running and what actually allows it to slow down. Because the moment you see the voice differently, the grip it has on you changes. And that's where overthinking finally starts to lose its power. Think about how your mind behaves during the day. You wake up, and almost immediately the commentary begins. What you need to do, what you forgot to do, what might happen later, what someone meant by something they said yesterday. Your mind doesn't just experience the day, it narrates the day. It evaluates, it predicts, it critiques, it replays. It runs small simulations about the future, and it treats every single one of those thoughts as if it might be important. This is why overthinking feels exhausting, because the voice never clocks out. Even when nothing is happening, it continues scanning, running possibilities, looking for problems, trying to stay ahead of everything that might go wrong. At first, this seems helpful. After all, planning and reflecting can be useful. But something subtle happens over time. The voice that was meant to assist you slowly becomes the thing you listen to the most. Instead of simply using the voice when needed, the voice becomes constant. And when it becomes constant, something interesting happens. You stop noticing it. You stop questioning it. You stop realizing that the voice is just a process your mind is running. Instead, you start believing that voice is you. And when that happens, every thought feels personal. Every worry feels real. Every prediction feels urgent. This is where overthinking really begins. Because now every single thought feels like something you must respond to, something you must analyze, something you must solve. So the mind keeps talking, and you keep listening. The cycle feeds itself. The voice speaks, you engage. It produces another thought. You analyze that one too. And the conversation continues. But here's the part most people never stop to notice. The voice only has power when you assume it's you. Once that assumption breaks, something changes. And to understand that shift, it helps to look at how this voice formed in the first place. There was a time when your experience of life didn't include this constant commentary. When you were very young, before language developed fully, life was direct. You experienced things as they happened. You saw something, you reacted. You felt something, you responded. There wasn't a running narrator explaining every moment. There was just experience. Then language developed, and something incredibly useful appeared, an internal narrator. At first, this voice helped you learn. It helped you remember. It helped you plan. It helped you interpret situations. The voice was a tool, a very helpful tool. But over time, something subtle happened. The tool became constant. The narrator stopped appearing only when needed. Now it appeared for everything. Every moment became something to comment on, something to analyze, something to predict. And slowly, the voice became the dominant experience of your mind. Now the narrator is running almost all the time, commenting on everything, explaining everything, evaluating everything. And because this voice has been present for so long, it feels like your identity. But the voice was never meant to be your identity. It was just meant to be a function. In the book, You're Not Broken, You're Overwhelmed, you will learn how this overthinking and anxiety becomes the background noise that people start to mistake for themselves. Once you understand that, something becomes easier to see. You begin to see the voice. But something else is present too, because if the voice is talking, something must be hearing it. The mind speaks, but something is aware of the speaking. The voice produces thoughts, but something notices those thoughts appearing. This distinction is simple, but it changes everything. Because the voice is loud, but you're the one hearing it. The voice reacts quickly, but something in you notices the reaction. Thoughts appear constantly, but something observes them arriving. The mind produces commentary, but you are the awareness noticing that commentary. The voice may say 100 things, but you are the one who hears them. And the moment you notice that difference, something shifts. Because if you can hear the voice, you cannot be the voice. You are the one aware of it. The voice produces content, but you are the context it appears in. And once this becomes clear, overthinking starts to lose its grip. Because the voice can continue talking, but it no longer feels like it defines you. You hear it the way you hear background noise, sometimes useful, often unnecessary, but no longer something you must follow. If this perspective is helping you see your mind differently, keep watching. Now, this doesn't mean the voice suddenly disappears. The mind still produces thoughts, just like the lungs still breathe, just like the heart still beats. But something about your relationship to the voice changes. You stop treating every thought as a command. You stop assuming every worry must be solved. You stop assuming every scenario must be analyzed. Instead, you begin noticing the voice, and that noticing creates space. And in that space, overthinking begins to slow down. Because the voice depends on your attention. It feeds on engagement. Every time you analyze a thought, the mind produces another. Every time you debate a thought, the voice continues the conversation. But when a thought appears and you simply notice it, the cycle begins to weaken. You start seeing the pattern instead of living inside it. A worry appears. You notice the worry. A prediction appears. You notice the prediction. A replay appears. You notice the replay. And something interesting happens. The thoughts still appear, but they move through faster because you are no longer feeding them your full attention. You're recognizing them as activity in the mind, not instructions you must follow. And this is where the practical shift begins. At some point during the day, the voice will start running again. It always does. Maybe it starts replaying a conversation. Maybe it begins predicting something uncomfortable. Maybe it starts evaluating what someone might think. When that happens, something small becomes possible. You notice the voice. Not to stop it, not to argue with it, just to notice. And the moment you notice it, something becomes clear. The voice is speaking, but you are the one aware of it. Then something even simpler can happen. You quietly acknowledge the pattern. There's the voice again. Not with frustration, not with judgment, just recognition. That recognition alone changes the relationship, because instead of being inside the thought, you are watching it. Then attention naturally shifts, maybe to the sound of the room, maybe to the feeling of breathing, maybe to whatever is happening in front of you. The voice may continue talking in the background, but it no longer holds center stage. And over time, something becomes easier. You start catching the voice sooner. You notice it before the spiral begins. You recognize the first thought before it multiplies into 10. And when that happens, overthinking loses momentum. Not because the mind stopped working, but because you remembered something essential. You were never the voice. You were always the one hearing it. The voice produces thoughts. You notice them. The mind creates stories. You observe them. The narrator speaks, but you remain the awareness behind it. And that awareness has always been quieter than the voice. Not absent, just overlooked. The moment you begin noticing it again, the space around your thoughts grows. And inside that space, the noise becomes less powerful. If you want to explore this pattern more deeply, I describe the process further in You're Not Broken, You're Overwhelmed. If this perspective shifted something in how you see your mind, subscribe for more explorations into how our thinking actually works. You might also notice in the comments that many people experience the exact same pattern, and recognizing that can make the process feel a lot less isolating. But the most important realization is simple. Overthinking isn't something you fight, it's something you see clearly. Because the voice may keep speaking, but you are not the voice. You are the one hearing it. The more you know about you, the more you understand, and the better you become.